Hey guys, can you hear me now? I just turned on the volume. I'm back into the Q&A. Uh, so if you can see us, that means you've all switched to the new live stream. Please drop a 1. All right, Jim knows the drill. Everybody knows the drill. Okay, great. So what we're going to do, yeah, great. Who's excited? All right, drop a 2 who's excited about this session. Want to see some 2s coming up. This is going to be an amazing session to transition between learning about mixing and then going to mastering. We gonna have, start seeing some 2s. All right. Ooh, a lot of 2s for Marcus. All right. Who drop me a 5 if you submitted a track by yesterday and you're here. Well, if you drop the 5, that means you're here. But if you drop a track, write 5 in the chat. All right, Marcus, Samson, Jackson, George. Great. AJ, great. So, gentlemen, hi.
Hello.
Really excited about this. I'm going to make a quick introduction of our 2 panelists. Some of you might know Emiliano already, because Emiliano was with us in part 1, Create, a couple of weeks ago. Emiliano, how are you?
Very well. I'm here in Los Angeles at home. Very excited to be with every one of you and listen to your music and learn from each other. So it should be fun.
Great. Well, Emiliano, we're very excited to have you back. For those who don't know Emiliano, a quick intro. As the lower third indicate, is a Latin Grammy-nominated mixing engineer and producer. He has also his own artist name, because if you remember last time, he shared a track that he produced and released. And we're really excited to have him back. And we have also with us, joining us today, Reumers. Robin, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I
I'm
believe
here.
Robin was with us one of the first music, maybe back in May, was it?
Yes, with
Piper.
but that was with Piper
It
section.
was with Piper, huh? And besides being very accomplished mixing engineers, they also are co-founders of a plugin company called Leapwing Audio. And if you don't know yet, they're of course a partner of ours. But more importantly, what we have for you is a raffle. Marcelo says congratulations for Die 1 nomination to NAM. To the Tech Awards, and you invite everybody to vote for the plugin. So where do we go?
Yes,
where
please.
do we go to vote?
I don't have the exact link, but
we should drop it here, okay? We should drop it here. So you guys dress to compress.
Ta-da!
That's actually pretty good. I think we need to give away those T-shirts.
Not this one. This is the only one I
have. But yeah, so here there's a link. If you go back to the event page where you're watching, so below us, if you go down, there is a link to this link to this page where you can register for a raffle. I think it's running until the end of today or tomorrow, and you can win one of the plugins of your choice. So thank you so much, guys, for offering a plugin to one of our audience member. So go to this URL or go down below the page. There will be a link to register for the raffle, and you will know within a day or 2 if you won. Great. So without further ado, all this session is about actually tracks that have been submitted by the audience. So I'm going to fade out, redraw myself, and let the 2 of you take it from here, gentlemen.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen so that way you can all see the session. And maybe in the meantime you can
entertain, of course.
Entertain, please.
Oops. Well, thank you, everyone. As Luke said, my name is Emiliano, but I think Emmy is what my friends call me. And as well, Robin, we are gonna share our basically our opinion, our way of listening to your music, and try to give you kind of a roadmap to where we will go. That doesn't mean that that has is the way that has to be. It's just like what I would do with opinions in life is a choice. You can review it and say, okay, I agree, or you can say like, no, I don't agree, which is fine. But I think it's great to have at least that conversation back and forth. I'm in the Slack channel as well, for if you have any questions in the meantime while we play, we can like have like a continuous conversation there as well. So whenever things you want to like touch, or whatever questions you have, or whatever let's say topics you want to expand about, as well, we are there during the duration of this talk to, well, help you any way we can in this 1 hour. And I think now we are ready to start to listen to some stuff. And yeah.
The rule, guys, is we would like to review live the tracks of people who are attending the session. So we'll double check who's here with us. And it's great that we have a few fives. So I see a couple of names that match. And so we can go this way.
So start with Brian.
So do we have Brian?
No.
I didn't see Brian, Henry.
Yeah. Or like maybe just because you see the names here,
Yeah.
like whoever name you see, like you tell us which to start with, and then we just play that.
Let's start with Samsung, number 6 on your track.
Perfect.
Samsung,
Right,
you ready?
let's go. Vámonos.
So what I'll do is I'll play like maybe the first minute, and then we'll discuss it, not
Let's
the
do
whole
it.
track.
Perfect.
Place wanna show Follow me, Z-shirt. I got a place wanna show you. I got a place wanna show you. Follow me, Z-shirt. I got a place wanna show you. Yeah, show me something worth it. Yeah, show me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, give me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, show me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, give me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, show me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, give me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Yeah, show me something good. I said, show me something worth it. Give me something good.
Let me unmute. You know.
All right. You go, Robin.
Sure. I'd be happy to start. So, yeah. First of all, I think there's a lot of cool elements in it. So I think that's cool. I'll try to focus on the mix or / mastering in general. I definitely like how the intro starts. It's kind of like cool. Of okay, what's gonna happen? I think once the drums come in, I think they're too far in the back, and I think they're kind of a bit drowned in reverb as well. I would not make them so washy in general. I think in general it creates a bit of a fuzziness that I think in this genre it would make sense to have things a bit more clear, and especially like the way I like to think of in a mix is really like work with layers of like you have things in the back, you have things a bit in the middle, and you have things in the foreground. And I think drums shouldn't be too far in the back because they define your groove, and I think that's where I would definitely work on. I think vocals, which come a bit later, they are a bit too far in the back as well. So yeah, I would start working better on like creating these levels of foreground, background. Yeah, that's kind of my first thought. Emmy, I don't know if you wanna add your thoughts.
Yeah. First off, again, what I was saying before, don't take this as like the ultimate absolute truth, and take it with the fact that it's someone else's opinion. And music, it's perspective, it's art, and it's subjective. Having said that, for example, for me, it's is lacking warmth and depth, and that makes it quite flat in that way. There's a few reasons why I feel that. Is because it's, I think, overusing of reverb. I think arrangement can lift the song and it could help the song to not be that. So I think there are two main things: it's over processing and under producing. So those two are like my main point in here, which I have to say that's the number one thing when one is I don't want to say learning, is in on their journey. Okay, so we all been there, and sometimes we all are there, but try to listen to I always say the same thing. I think I end up sounding like a broken radio when I give feedback. It's like, first, to have a goal of where you're gonna go, try to have a reference of like a benchmark of where you're gonna go. What is a benchmark? It's a reference song, it's a reference mix, a reference production, and from there you basically try to reverse engineer what you need. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Robin, I don't know. Is you, Robin, that you're very noisy, or who is it?
Yeah, you have a fan, Robin.
Okay.
Samson is actually asking
And
about
that's a bit
the deaf
usual.
is asking, if this can be fixed in the mastering stage.
No, I think this is it's not a. Sorry to just jump on there, Robin. I'll give you the opportunity, but I think this is something that I will tackle in the production and making of the song before thinking even mastering. Mastering is not a silver bullet. Mastering is not magic. Mastering is just it's gonna expose what is there. It's like a flashlight into something. Just gonna enhance what is in there. So, Robin.
Did we lose Robin?
Yeah, I. Do you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Should be left into mastering.
Robin, we are losing you. I don't know if your internet
the final
it's fine, but you're cutting out all the time. Like?
Yeah, we
I think
we lost.
I
Robin.
think Robin is okay. While Robin is, it's back to it. Yeah, I think I love the knowledge of mastering is flashlight. Okay, he's very true. Yeah, Robin, I think maybe check your Wi-Fi, but yeah, please. And this is not just for Samsung. This is just something I can't stress enough. Like, there is no magic bullet. There's no easy fix in here. Music is as any art, is such a demanding practice that if one looks for the quickest solution to get it done and to the quickest route, you're missing the point, I think, which is exploring the journey of your art. That is the main thing. For me, art is not just doing something. It's the process of exploring your feelings, exploring an idea, exploring a concept. So I think when some students sometimes say like, oh, what's the fix? It's like, if you're willing to go there to invest time and frustrate yourself, it's great. If you're looking for a quick fix, that is, I don't think is what I will do. I don't approach making music like that. I don't know if that and I don't want to sound negative, but there are some things that can be fixed in mastering, but the feeling of a song is not one of them. Like, that is just like the reality of it. Okay, Robin, are you there?
Yeah, I think I'm back. I don't know like why it dropped
Okay,
out.
no worries. Did you hear anything I said?
I heard everything, and I completely
Julio.
agree.
Rabin,
Okay.
you may have check your bandwidth. Oh, you're now coming back a bit more in more details. You want to reshare your screen?
Ah, it's not sharing.
It's sharing, but we don't see the put tool session.
Ah, wait, of course, I'm now on the Skype. Yeah, sorry.
Cool. Shall we? Who's next? Loic?
Loic,
Who's next?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm switching. I'm switching the screen. Okay, so after Samsung, I hope this was helpful for you. Okay, so next we're gonna get to let's get to Marcus.
Perfect.
Marcus Breyer.
Mhm. All right.
Cool.
I mean, do you want to go first this time?
Sure. Well, thanks for the track, Marcus. My main thing that I got once I listened to it is that I like the idea. I think it was very interesting, but I didn't feel like the sounds were like working together with each other. So, and that partially might be the mix with so much like ambience, so much reverberation that when there's so much of something, it disappears. Like there's one thing can be too much salt, but everything is salt. You don't know what it is that is not salt anymore, if that makes sense, you know. So if you want to make something very big and bombastic, maybe that should be a moment. Because if everything is big and bombastic all the time, there is no reference of what is not bombastic anymore. So it defeats the point, if that makes sense. So, so yeah, that basically creates a deluxe definition, and I think for such a musical piece like this, that I think the point is creating emotional impact. It doesn't do it for me, and I would say just listen to scores and pieces of music that are in the same alley, and try to first match it. That's what I would say to when someone is in this process. Like try to copy to the people that you think are great. In this case, I will try to copy, Hans Zimmer, Junkie XL, like people like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Like that's what I wrote down as well. Is like I feel a bit of I'm missing a bit of cohesion between the instruments, and yeah, like I think Emmy already said it with the reverb. I would also really suggest thinking about like with like for example, as you said, like you're trying to create an emotional impact, and think of it in terms of energy. Like you want to, like if you for example, if you look at an orchestra playing, whenever you build momentum, you build energy, all of the players are going to increase their energy, and that's going to give you a lift. And I feel in certain points certain elements might not have a lot of energy and certain ones do. So that creates a bit of a disconnect. And I think that's for me that a bit of a disconnection between the layers that I definitely think is something that I would work on. I mean, I do like the piece, definitely. Like, I think there's a lot of potential in it. But as Emmy said, I think just fine tuning those things and getting the mix right, and that will definitely help a lot.
I see, Robin.
Anything else? I agree with you.
Yeah, Marcos is saying something I was struggling with was how to continue building it up without having to start out quiet. And I think that's kind of your point. Like, you might need to go quiet. I think music is contrast, and if you don't give contrast.
Well, but I guess in this piece he's trying to go from really small to really big. That I assume is the goal. But yeah, like I would hold it longer than, like you say, like hold the contrast longer and really work within. Again, like for me, energy is super important, of like holding that as long as you can, and then really only gradually build it. Oops. For me, yeah, it's too much already in the beginning.
I love like talking with sound effects. Talk, talk, talk.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
So I hope this Marcus was helpful. We're gonna go to Jackson. Nelius?
Yes. Cool. Here we go.
Can I change your mind? Sweet like sugar, but she's unrefined. Christian Dior, but she wants more. Spilling champagne on the marble floor. That's my kind of woman. She clean, but messy when she wanna get mean. She's singing in the shower for me. And even when you slip up, you're still a queen. Trips to the city looking nice. Damn, she ain't even checked the price. Putting it all on my card. Then she gon' spend it all night. And you don't have the time to be fair. Take it for your ride, you're leaving. Calling it quits at 3 a.m. That's kinda early for a weekend. That's my kind of woman. She clean, but messy when she wanna get mean. She's
Cool. Alrighty. Well, thank you, Jackson, for sending in this track. Yeah, like again, I really like the idea. For me, it has this like obviously R&B vibe. When it comes to suggestions, what I would work on is getting the groove, the beat to really hit you. I feel in certain points like the synth and the vocal are like almost giving the rhythm. Like, they're giving you the rhythm, but it should be, in my opinion, in R&B, it should be the drums and let's call it percussion in general that gives you the groove. So what I recommend there is really working more with compression and really getting that thick sound. And then the vocals are kind of stacked on top instead of like the vocal being the main carrier. That I think is one, like, and then when it comes to processing, like I would say like focus on the low end, getting that really tight, like really nice, and not too compressed, like leave the bass, the low end to breathe. Then the mid range for me, that's where you need to work on the compression and the glue. And then again, the high end, that should again not be too compressed, because then you're just getting a very narrow stereo image and things just don't open up. So yeah, I would focus really on that mid-range, getting that really like solid and tight. And for me, especially in the drums. Emmy?
All right. I think it's a cool track. I think it's a cool idea. Actually, I mean, I agree with Robin, but for me, besides the groove, for this style, I feel that the vocals are the money. Like, I think like you should have to you should I mean, ideally you nail everything, but try to nail like vocal pitch. I think you need to do some vocal tuning in this style. You need to, it's pop R&B. It needs to, I think, live in that space. The vocal has to be upfront, has to have expensiveness to it, high end, expensive high end, mid range that is very nicely air, like it shimmers, a depth, play with reverbs, with delays. I think the vocal production in this song is key, and it sounds that the vocal take like a back seat in this song, which for me is the total opposite. So create backgrounds, create doubles, create ad libs, create effects, make it very good. And again, on top of what Robin was saying, I think your high end tells. Uh, this is something actually I learned, like they pensar always, like every time like we talk about music, it's always the same thing. Like your low end defines like your like your truth. Like it makes it people to believe that, yeah, it's a cool song. Like, but the high end is where the classiness, the expensiveness, the how cool something is. Like R&B for me has to be flashy, but truthful. So I don't think a very silk high end in rock music works. I don't think I would believe a song that is rock but it's like super hi-fi, and that is, if you're not Steely Dan or Dire Straits, like, I think there are bands that of course break the rules. That's why there are rules to break them. But I would just really work in those vocals in the high end.
Yeah,
Uh,
I completely agree with like the vocal production. I totally agree.
Gentlemen, do we want to go to the next track?
I think so. If
Okay.
there is any other remarks, just leave them on the
Yeah,
chat.
or
Yeah,
any comments?
Jackson, if you have any remarks, and I love that some folks are also jumping with some advice or what they feel. Cool. So the next one, flashy but truthful. Love. Okay, so
I stole that from De Pensado, so no worries.
Jorge Villa will be the next track.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Today you fight for the people, no matter how weak the outcome. Get your weapons on the ready. The enemy waits for no one. I'm sorry it had to be this way. My word is law, defended for today.
Go ahead.
You start or I start?
I think you're up now.
All right. So that was
Hold on. I think we may be back.
cool. So Jorge is here, right? Jorge, if
Works now. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we're back on.
okay.
This is the live.
Okay.
This is live.
Exactly. This is the live. Jorge, I was saying, like, before giving any feedback, I would love to hear what was your goal and like with this song, and what reference, or band style or song you had in mind. If you can leave it in the chat, would be very helpful to see as well. Where did you plan to go with this? Where did you wanna go with it? I'm not sure if you're listening, Jorge, or you're Okay.
There's a bit of delay between the live stream and the Q&A, but maybe if he caught your question, he's gonna ask it
Question
again.
for Emiliano. How did you add access? Okay. Let's go to the questions at the end of the talk.
Yeah.
But because I want first have this very quickly back and forth with Jorge.
Yeah. Jorge is
I
typing.
just yeah I see. I assume the drums and the guitars and everything was like recorded live, so I don't think those are like basically maybe not real drums, or maybe they are treated and as well like I think the main thing I will focus here is will be the song. I feel like for me the song is where everything starts, and I feel in this track it's like upside down. Like it feels like the song is the least important because the song for me is not strong at all, and that I'm very like honest about it. Okay, I kind of for your answer that you didn't have a band in mind and just trying to get a hard rock vibe. That's what I kind of get. Like for me, this sounds more like okay, I want to try to produce something like that, but it didn't start from a song. You know what I mean? From like okay, I'm gonna write a cool song in this style. For me, it's like I'm gonna produce something in this style, and I'll try to make a song. So that was my feeling. To like make it very short, I think the sounds are very thin. I think it lacks punch. I think it lacks low end, high end. The vocal effects are very. I don't think they suit the rest of the music at all. And I don't want to sound harsh, but I would say work on first having a more strong song next time. Robin?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think, yeah, focus on mixing. I would definitely work on the vocal, getting that to glue in with the rest. I mean, besides all your points about writing and production, I think mixing wise, definitely like and create more energy. I think also the guitars for me, like they miss this like energy and yeah, which has to do with compression. But yeah, the main thing for me is vocals, getting those to sit in with the music and then work on the rest and again creating like also a nice low end. Like right now it's a bit muddy, but yeah, I think you already summed up pretty much everything.
Cool.
Could you give a quick, because I think this will be applicable for everybody, one or two tips to reduce the muddiness? I know it's a hard question. I'm sorry.
Well, personally, I think like a lot of muddiness, if you look at where it typically comes from, it obviously comes a lot from when you do recordings in smaller spaces and you record. Because if you think about if you have a smaller space, typically already just by putting a microphone in the room, you're going to have a lot of low mids buildup. So I think in the mix process, that should be one of the key things to look at is just filtering out those low mids where they're not needed, so that things are not fighting with each other and there is room for whatever instrument needs to get priority in that space. So it's about filtering and just paying attention when you record to
Can I jump in there, Robin?
of course.
Yeah, I think paying attention in the recording that would be ideal. Like ideally you would not have recorded all these low mids, but imagine like you did. I think one of the main issues while having low end buildup is listening in solo. I think not listening the mix as a conjunction all the time is what creates these things, because in solo you might not filter much because it's like, wow, it sounds too thin, but in context it's not. And the other way around, in solo you might filter too much where there's no low end anywhere anymore. So I think balancing without using solos, without using processing, just like the raw track, and then realizing what's important to have low end, then what is important to not have low end. That's my
Thank you.
advice.
All right, so we'll move on to the next track, and then we can address some of the questions that Ryan had. Sorry, I'm trying to go back to ask. As we add more questions and comments, I need to go back to the original list of people who checked in. AJ. The next one will be AJ.
Estimate my power.
All right.
Cool.
Did that playback correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay, awesome, cool. So yeah, I'll start. Like, what I typically love to know in this style is obviously what is the goal of where, and I think this is important in general, like especially if you're, well, whether it's electronic music or pop music, like figuring out who's your target audience will a lot of times dictate a bit like which direction to go in. So I think if you want it to be this kind of vibey, clubby record, um, there's a few things that I think I would work on. I think one is stereo width. I I, I do think that everything is quite narrow and quite centered, so I would definitely play around with moving stuff really wide, and of course leaving some stuff in the center as well. But playing more with width, which will definitely help. Then for me also there's like this really low end. I think this could give a lot more like intensity, as in like right now there is not that much happening in the low lows, so I would love to see more breathing there. And then I think to combine all of that, I would love to see more aggressive compression. To me right now, I think the groove is a bit static but a bit soft for me. I think you could really accentuate the groove more, by using compression, um, like an API or an SSL or something to really give you that punch, which I think could really help create this excitement, this vibiness that I think you're looking for. But yeah, that's my feedback. Okay.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, that to be honest, I have the same thing as Robin. Like for me, it's very mono. So I think it could use more stereo production and not just effects, just like producing things that are like more or less right. And again, it lacks kind of warmth. I think you could just use some saturation in the low end and the low mids. Uh, but yeah, like I think for a club release, I think it needs more punch and a fatter low end. Imagine like when you're in a club, like what songs make you go to the dance floor and like leave your drink in the bar, Just try to evoke reactions when making music. At the end, what's what it is. Like music is trying to make people feel a certain way.
What
Doesn't. Mhm.
Emiliano, what would be one or two quick tip to get more punch in the low end?
Uh, choice of sound, like a lot of, I don't know what synthesizer you use, but a lot of not very good synthesizers, it's just inherent. Like they don't have the punch because the way they are programmed, like it's not, the sound is not great. So I would say try to find the best sound you can have. A minimal would be awesome. Chord 303 would be great. Poly 6 maybe. A analog synthesizer. Just that is the main thing. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but to get really good deep sounds, you need a good synthesizer. So, and that can be a good plugin. Like there's a couple of, like I used Arturia synths, and Diva from Huey. It's like such a great low end for a Moog. There's another one called The Legend that it's a Moog synthesizer plugin. Those three are great. There's a lot of them. They are not that as great, but for me, one is choice of sounds, and second is just contrast. Like if all the time the low end is playing, there is no sense of punchiness. But if you production arrangement, if you take out the low end and all of a sudden brings everything, cool. So I think distorting the low end as well.
Mm-hmm. No, I just wanted to add to that, and that was one of the reasons I asked this question about like what is kind of the target you're aiming for, because like and this I think in general is very useful to know. Like I've been doing a lot of like club music like lately. I mean pop music, but kind of going into the club scene, and like there is really a fine line nowadays, especially with how much low end to put in, because in certain areas, again, if you're just going for the, like, I don't think this is this mainstream pop area, obviously. So that's why I think it's very important to focus exactly which segments, because certain segments require things to be super loud, super in your face, not have a lot of subs, because otherwise you can't get that loud. So really be careful with how you tune that low end. But others, you can be much more open, like, you know, general house music, like Lil Louis Vega, like those kind of records. It is less important because, you know, they don't really care about things going super loud. So again, I think it is very important to figure out exactly, you know, which target you have, and then checking out the references, checking how much low end they have, and because it needs to balance out. Because my experience, especially like if you go send things to DJs, they're not going to change much settings. They're going to play your record after the other. If it sounds too different, you know, they're going to say, well, I'm going to pick something else. So you do want to be careful with that. But then again, I'm not saying that this should be mainstream club music, but I'm just giving it as an
AJ was going for club ready deep house track.
Right. Then I mean, in deep house, you can be a bit more open. Like I mean, typically like loves it would be like -6, -7. And like again, what I meant, the mainstream sometimes goes to -3, -4, so super loud. So I think there, but then you do definitely need the low lows. I think there it is super important to get those, in deep house to get the low lows. I mean, I worked a lot with like Oliver Heldens, for example, and he has a couple of like deep house tracks, and there the low end is like pumping. So yeah, I would definitely, if that's your goal, I would definitely work on making that.
AJ got the low end popping. I hope this was helpful. Okay, so next we have Marcelo.
Cool.
Resurrection, she's come back to life. It just took some time for the rains to come to wash away the dust. A new beginning, but she's done this before. She's opened up her heart, got a brand new start, a reconnection with the world. Ooh, she's a tumbleweed and a obligatory traveler of the wind. Ooh, when the drought returns, she found a way to survive. She's a rose of Jericho. Rose of Jericho.
All right.
Great. Awesome.
Cool. Who goes first?
You go first.
All right. Cool. Again, thanks for sending your track, Marcelo. We say in Spanish Marcelo. But I think in this case, as with Jorge, I was saying, like, I think the production sounds like that was the goal and the song was not there. In this case, it's actually the other way around. I think the song is cool, but I think it's lost in the production and the mix. Here's the funny thing, like, every step is as important as the previous one, and that means that one can say, like, well, but the song is more important. Yeah, the song is very important, but if the song is lost in the medium, which is the production and the mix, you are cutting your chances of people saying, like, wow, and people feeling something. They have to look for it. They have to dust off the song. Whereas if you present it in the best possible way, that has least chances to happen, to people just ignore it. I would say, like, I think it's very country, Nashville oriented. This song reminded me to an artist, British artist that I work with. It's called Ward Thomas. They have a song called Guilty Flowers and Carry You Home. Check out how those songs sound, and reference to your track, because I think that's going to help you a lot. And I think the main thing to tackle here is the production and mixing, because and production in terms of, like, choice of sounds, because breaks, like build-ups, chorus, like, I think it's very well done. But I think the song is you lost it in the final parts, which is it's a shame, because it's way, like, I think it's harder to, at least just my opinion, to write a good song than produce it well. But that's my opinion.
But he can get there. Can he get
Of
there?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, I always, that's why, like, check these references, because I think that's
Can you
gonna
repeat
really
the
help you.
reference? Can you
Yeah,
repeat?
I'll put the YouTube
Drop
link.
it so it can be helpful for Marcelo.
Great. I'll quickly add as well, because I do think, like, in the last, let's say, 20% is where I think it could get, a major transformation. I think overall there is not much happening in the high mid, sorry. Like, it is a bit, it lacks excitement. It needs to open up more in the mid range and create excitement. And, like, again, like as Emmy said, for me, like, a lot of Nashville records, like almost all of them, they sound amazing. So I would definitely, compare it to those, and you're gonna see, like, they are way more open. Yeah, they just shine and create this excitement. And I feel here it's a bit boxed in. So yeah, I would focus on that. And also for me, the drums can punch more. But that's my taste.
All right. So the next one we're gonna go with Tyler. Tyler
Cool.
Stone.
I hope, Marcelo, you have any questions, just put it in the chat box. But
Yeah.
I hope that helps.
Yeah, but it's a great song, and I really like it too. Awesome. Cool.
All right. So we got a remix here.
Yes, exactly. Classic track. It's no, like, should I start, Emmy, or?
Yeah.
I think it's my turn. No, I think it's obviously it's a very cool track. That's that I think is a given. I'll let Emmy comment on the production. For me, the mix, um, for me I think what Emmy said before as well is like the well, the mids and the highs, especially the highs is where the money is, but the mid range for me, it should definitely open up. Like right now it's a bit focused on the lower mid range, and I think opening the mid range, like I mean, I'll show a quick like example what I would do. Like, of course, don't like I'm just using any compressor, but like if you take a look at this, for example, um like if you take this range, like maybe like 100 to like 5 kilohertz, and you use upward expansion, so you actually take signals that peak and give it more level. So in general, you're going to create more excitement, and I think that's going to help the groove, because those low mids, they're a bit like controlled, they're not open. So by giving them more life, you're going to just open that up, and that I think is going to help a lot. And then in the end, but to me that's more mastering, and from what I can see, the track, this is like a mix, so obviously it needs final limiting, final clipping to give it that final glue, but from what I can see is like this is the mix, not the master, so I won't comment on that. Yeah. Emmy, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think the production is cool, but again, like I think it needs a bit of more polishing in the mix, as exactly as you just said. And I think as that mid range will like beneficiate from some harmonic distortion and some multiband maybe, as you were saying. So parallel compression a bit, but yeah, I think here's the mixing the thing.
Yeah, but yeah, overall I think it's good. I think the mix needs the last 10%, which is just polish it. I like the percussion, but I think even just the like slight transient designer on the percussion, a bit of harmonic distortion in the mid range to create that excitement, then some upward expansion. Those little things will help tremendously.
Cool.
Okay.
So long, feels like you're dying inside. I see it now. The way things still look, it's harder to identify. 'Cause I was wrong, thinking it's alright. Past isn't past, even the lies cannot hide.
Oh. Emmy, you want to go?
It's my turn.
I think so.
Yeah. I think that the main idea is cool, but the production again, like I think it lacks warmth and it's flat, a bit thin. I'm not sure if the sounds were already weak or they have been over processed, but again, I would say have a reference. I don't know if you have a lot of plugins on it. Try to disable all plugins and just focus on balance, because I think the choice of sounds it doesn't make the track feel better. I don't know if that what do you think, Robin?
Yeah, I agree. I think like in those hi-hats and stuff, like I do hear a lot of processing indeed on individual stuff. So maybe indeed try to like just back off and start again, without it, and then see what elements do need stuff. But for me, also like balancing between elements and between sections, and again like holding things out till later, and yeah, like working on, well, the arrangement in that case, but balancing like things between instruments. I think that's key. Hope that makes sense.
Cool. Don't think I haven't seen an Eric, but
Yeah, the first two.
yeah. Uh, that was me or was Robin? Can't remember.
I think you said it first, but I mean, like, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, balance is like when you start to mix, you play with the faders, right? And there's a moment where everything locks together, like everything feels good. Before you start tweaking, adding reverb, whatever, like there is a moment where, okay, I have my groove going. Is the groove doing like quarter notes? Is it in the upbeat? Is it in the downbeat? How am I feeling? Cool. Then you add the guitars or the synths, and like, okay, I'm getting the idea. Like the music speaks to me, and there, just like, okay, now I improve that. Like I, I have to say, like that I learned like from like I think a very good guy doing that is Michael Brower. Like he would like balance the mix in like 10 minutes and then like improve on it, but just adding a bit of this, a bit of EQ, a bit of reverb. Like it's really a lot of like hundreds of small steps, and that takes it over the edge. But a good base of like I feel the song is in the right way or in the right lane. I think it's essential. Like I and this is as well a way of mixing. I'm very like emotional and I don't care about everything sounding good or not. Like I'm just whatever feels good is what I go. So it takes me 10 minutes to get a rough mix, but that is like the base for me. So I don't start mixing, getting the best kick drum sound I can get. I don't care about that. Like I just want the groove to move me. So that is what I focus on. Balance is like just what is really, really, really key, you know. I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I think it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, like the high end, it's where the character of a song is. Like the attitude is, I think, the mid range, the feeling and the truth. It's in the low end. Like you either believe it the song or not. And the mid range is like where the emotion and the character is. But the high end is when it's gonna say like, okay, this is a lo-fi thing or this is like very expensive. And that's why how it's because how we hear things like when you are listening to an old radio, it doesn't sound high end. It's just like the high end is a bit down, and when you listen something in a public place or in a store, the high end is not very good. But if you really listen in really good speakers, if that song has really high end, it's like, wow, this sounds like it was expensive. Like this was like it was expensive to make. It's like some like apply when someone says like, wow, your car is really shiny. Same thing.
I also think like if you want to get a good example, I think like Michael Jackson records and stuff like the high end is so clean, it's so clear, it's not over processed because once you start adding too many processing in the high end, it starts to clutter down and it's not more defined. So I yeah, like I totally agree, of course, like with that point of like the high end is if that is clean and sharp, that's the money.
Well, I think we did all the tracks of all the people who were here. So
Julio.
we went through 8 tracks in an hour. It feels like a marathon, and of course, there's more feedback. Um, I want to thank you guys. I hope this was helpful, even for those who didn't submit a track, but at least you get to hear a song and uh, and and getting feedback. And maybe that's something you can also apply to your own tracks. Please
Hope so.
drop a one or a clap if you just to thank both Emiliano and Robin. Hey, Ole. And I also want to say that, they have amazing plugins that actually could help you with some of those issues. Uh, uh, but there's one for giveaway. So make sure you hit this link, type this link, or we make it super easy. Go downstairs below us. I point. You don't see me right now, but I'm pointing down of the window. There's a link to the raffle, and you can win one of the plugins of your choice from Leapwing Audio. On this, guys, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate, having you on at the event, and
Thank you, guys.
and for listening to the tracks and providing honest and transparent feedback.
Exactly. Which is like doesn't mean it's what people wants to hear. Which
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you know.
no, and I was saying to Anna, this is what happened when you ask Europeans for feedback. So I mean, and as you said, Emiliano, thank you to all the people who submitted a track, because it always, um, there's always this anxiety of getting feedback from professionals. So, all right, guys, we're gonna go do a quick break, and we're gonna switch to our next session with Michael Romanowski and Frank Socorro. Emiliano, Rabin, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.